Guys, it's the Man here once again, trying to get this camera, because I'm working with a camera, not a proper camera that you film with. It's very hard, but just bear with me while I get it in a good spot so I can actually film this and filming. Alright, so we've gone from that story to living in Fitzroy, getting my throat cut and pushed around from pillar to post. Still an alcoholic, still a young person trying to fathom what's going on, why is it all, why it's all going wrong. So we've gone out of that bad assault, bad bashings again, to getting out of Osborne House, living down St Kilda in Melbourne, Victoria. So I get down, live Fitzroy, leave all that shit behind, get down to Fitzroy. Now, I hung around St Kilda back in the days when there used to be punks and skinheads floating around, when St Kilda used to be St Kilda. This would have been the early 90s, going 90s, from 80s to early 90s, late 90s. When I was down there used to be punks and skinheads. Every second shop you had your telephones in a row in the main drag of St Kilda. You had all your telephone booths in a row. You had your fish and chip shops down there. You had your pizza shops. You had all your food shops. Now, this is pretty rough down here, what I'm talking about, when St Kilda was, when the punks and skinheads were there. And the main, you go up around the corner, I don't know all the streets. You used to have all the prostitutes in a row. That was their domain where they used to hang around. You had, I'm trying to think of the pub down there, the big white one. It'll come to me in a minute. That's where they used to have all the punks and skinheads. We used to go down there and drink. The Esplanade pub, the white one on the corner. Back then they used to have all the punks and skinheads. They used to have punks and skinhead dues. And then a bit down further you had Lerner Park, where all the gays used to hang around. There used to be gay bashings down there, which is, I say that respectably, that was going on down there. No one had respect for anyone. You had your prostitutes selling their bodies for drugs. And this is all things I was witnesses. I witnessed bashings, stabbings, a whole lot that was down St Kilda, you know. And I'm thinking, wow, what have I got myself into? Now, down St Kilda, there used to be churches that used to give out lunches at 12 o'clock, and it's still there today. There's still, Father Bob used to run it as well. They used to have 12 o'clock is lunchtime down there to this big church. There was organisations down there that used to give out pies and pasties at a certain time of the night. You had to be there. So I used to, I joined up with the punks down there. I shaved my head. I wore army pants. I wore Doc Martens. I joined up with the punks. And there was an older bloke there that put me under his wing. He was 4 years older than me. His nickname was Bam Bam, and his girlfriend, I know it sounds weird, his girlfriend was named Pebbles, after the Flintstones. And not too many people used to muck around with Bam Bam because he was only small and stocky, and he could fight like a cat, as they used to say back in the day. I used to hang around with him. He showed me the ropes, what you can do, what you can't do, who you can talk to, who you can keep away with. And, so from there, we used to go into the pubs down St Kilda when it was rough as back then, late 80s, early 90s, when still, you had all the shops that were opened till 3 or 4 in the morning. People were drunk, people were on drugs, people were fighting, coppers everywhere. There was nightlife going on all night until about 3 o'clock. So I stayed down St Kilda for many years, got sick of the same shit, different day sort of thing. Got into fights down there, got into this, got into that, didn't look after our bodies. And then I left St Kilda left it all behind, lost contact because I used to know a lot of people down there. I used to know all the street women down there, the prostitutes. Used to, g'day, how you going? Talk to them, and they'd know where the punks. And you got to know them, you know. You just didn't know them as a prostitute. You knew them as a person. Yeah, they prostituted for money, but they had to do it to live, you know. So we didn't judge them. We just treated them right. We just, g'day, how you going? We dealt with whatever come our way. We dealt with it then and there, and it was finished with. We ate out of charity organisation. I tell you what, when I was down there used to be a lady in a wheelchair. She was a big seated lady, and she used to come down there every Friday night, and she used to round our street kids up and have a talking to us and try to guide us in the right way, make sure we weren't playing up too much. That's where we met Father Bob down there. He used to come and visit us street kids and try to, you know, talk our words of wisdom, he used to call it. You know, you can either take it or you can eject what I'm saying to you. And we used to say, hey, no worries, Father Bob, we'll listen. And Father Bob used to say to me, Ray, you listening to what I'm saying, or just going in this ear and out that ear? And I used to go, no, I'm listening. And he used to grab me by the ear and say, listen, because you'll learn something. And he was right. So that's experience. We met Father Bob down there. We met Chopper Reed down there. We didn't know of him. Who he was back then was just Chopper Reed. We didn't know what he was doing down there. We didn't know what we know about him now. Who else did we meet down there? We met quite a few different people down there. Then we stayed down there for a couple of years, and then I versed off to there and ended up living all over the place. From couch surfing, as they call it, going from many places, more stories, which is so many stories of the Chook Man's life, going from still an alcoholic, still getting pushed from pillar to post, moving here, moving there, getting into trouble, getting into that. Now, I want to talk about another thing, just come back a little bit. People ask me all the time, so you done jail, did you? No, I didn't do fucking jail. I kept my nose out of people's business back then. Jail wasn't for me. I had a lot of friends down there, associates, that did do jail when Pentridge was open. They kept getting into trouble and they kept getting locked up. Now, I was smart enough to stay away from two things. One was the needle, because it was around, heroin was around when I was a boy. There was, what was around in the drugs? There was block of hash, that was around. You had marijuana, that was around. I sort of kept my nose out of where it didn't concern, because I seen what happened to my mates. They'd be doing the wrong thing, and then they'd end up in Pentridge. Then they'd get out of Pentridge and they'd tell me their story. So I kept my nose right out of that. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. I'm not putting tickets on myself, because it's not about that. I survived on the streets. I've survived bashings. I've survived assaults. I'm here today, luckily, telling my story. Now, where I've ended up, I've flipped the coin and I ended up in Preston. Now, this will be another story in itself. I've landed in Preston, age 37, when the government gave me a housing commission unit flat. I'm 53 now. I love life. I understand I'm not perfect. I don't wear coloured glasses. I don't mind if you're going to judge me. I don't mind if you don't like me. An old saying is, if you don't like me, don't talk to me. I keep to myself now. I mind my own business. I respect other people, and I hope they respect me in return. So that's that in a nutshell. I hope you get something out of my story, whether it's this big or whether it's that big. If it helps you on your journey to understand where you're going wrong in life, that's good. I got a lot of feedback when people hear my stories. They pull me aside and, one bloke thanked me. He said, mate, my kids, they're not I want now. They settle down. They appreciate what they've got, 1 minute they want Reeboks and they want this and they want that. Then they heard my story. They're just glad to have runners on their feet. And I said to him, I shook his hand, I said, I'm glad that your kids have got a better outlook in life and more respect. And for all you other young people coming up the ladder, if you've got parents that look after you, put clothes on your back, feed you, put a roof over your head and love you, what more do you want? And in return, all you have to do is respect them. Alright guys, that's a Chook Man and his stories. His hard times never last. They don't, you go about life, you change. The older you get, the wiser you're supposed to get to. And I'm 53 now. I'm looking at life in a different ball of fish now. I appreciate life better than I did back then. And every day's a new day to me. I'm far from perfect. I've got wrongs. I've got mental health. I've got PTSD. I've got health issues going on. Something good to end up with. I've finally settled down, and I've got a beautiful woman that supports me through the hard times, the sad times, and all the other to go with it. I don't know how she puts up with me, but she does. She loves me from the heart. She's always there for me. She's bulletproof, the old school coming out of me. She's bulletproof. She didn't stand in front of me if someone went to shoot me. She's a beautiful cook. She's got a beautiful heart. She's a beautiful soul. And I'm very lucky and blessed to have this lady in my life. We've been together now 10 years, and she's had my back ever since she met me. She said to me one day, and I'll never forget this day, she said, you can either shut up about your bitching and whinging about what you went through, or you can stand up and fight it all the way. And 10 years later, here I am today telling my story. So, yeah. Alright, guys, have a great one. Take care. Be kind to yourself and be kind to everyone around you if you can.